It started as something simple, an afternoon photo shoot, just me and a camera. I wasn't expecting anything extraordinary. I just wanted a few good photos for work, maybe something that would make me feel confident again after a rough year. But when she walked into the studio, everything shifted. Her name was Leah, a photographer with steady hands and eyes that looked like they could see straight through the walls I had built. From the moment she said, "Let's start," I felt something stir inside me that I couldn't quite name. There's something strange about being seen, not just looked at, but seen. Leah had a way of doing that. Her voice was calm, her smile patient, and every time she adjusted the camera, I felt my pulse quicken. It wasn't just attraction, it was recognition. Like she was capturing a version of me I hadn't dared to show anyone before. By the time the light outside started to fade, I knew this wasn't just a photo shoot. It was the beginning of something I couldn't control, something dangerous, beautiful, and real. Before we dive into this story, one that will test the boundaries between art, desire, and truth, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Because what happened between Leah and me that day changed both of our lives forever. And by the end, you'll have to ask yourself, can love really begin the moment someone sees you for who you are? The first thing Leah did was turn off the overhead lights. We were in a small studio in Silver Lake, the kind of place that looks like it used to be a garage before someone decided art needed skylights. She pulled a rolling ladder beneath a paper backdrop the color of fog and tugged at a chain until the sweep fell smoothly to the floor. "Harsh light lies," she said, glancing over her shoulder. "Let's give you something kinder." I laughed, trying to seem less nervous than I felt. "I thought the camera does the lying." "The camera tells the truth you ask it to," she said, meeting my eyes. "I like asking for mercy." She was taller than I expected, with ink-black hair tucked behind one ear and a faded denim shirt rolled to the elbows. There was a calmness to the way she moved, efficient without being rushed. It reminded me of nurses I'd met when my mother was sick, the steady ones who could quiet a room by simply entering it. The studio smelled faintly of eucalyptus and dust, and somewhere a fan hummed a low note. Outside, late afternoon traffic slid along Sunset Boulevard like a restless tide. I stood in front of the gray sweep in the simplest outfit I owned: dark jeans, a white tee, my favorite leather jacket. Leah had told me to bring looks that felt like me, not like a person I was trying to audition for. "We're not building a mask," she'd said on the phone. "We're letting air in." Now, as she clipped a softbox to a light stand, I tried to let air in. I'd booked the session because I needed new portraits for the nonprofit where I worked. Press materials. A board report, the usual, after a year that had scraped me down to the studs. A breakup. A job change. Watching my mother move into assisted living in Phoenix. Somewhere in all that, I'd misplaced the version of myself I used to recognize. I wanted to see a face that looked like it could walk into a room and not apologize for taking up space. Leah tested the light. A brief flare like quiet lightning. "All right," she said. "Stand with your left shoulder toward me. Breathe. Don't pose yet. Just exist for a second," I exhaled. She stepped closer, adjusting the collar of my jacket with 2 fingers, then moved a tendril of my hair behind my ear, the way you do with someone you've known for years. The touch was respectful, practical, and somehow electrifying. My heartbeat ticked up like a drum under soft hands. "You're doing that thing," she said, lifting the camera, "holding your chin like you're bracing for impact. Try this. Look at the top edge of the lens, not into it. Think about a place you feel safe." "Hard prompt," I said. She lowered the camera a fraction. "Then think about a place you want to believe in." My mouth tilted without permission. "Okay, Trader Joe's on a Sunday when the line isn't insane." She laughed. The sound loosened something inside me. "Perfect. Keep that." The shutter clicked, a rhythm that quickly became its own language. Look, pause, breathe, click. She paced a slow semicircle around me, changing her angle by inches. "Chin up 2 degrees. Beautiful. Drop your left shoulder. Good. Eyes on me." When she said the last part, her voice softened. "Eyes on me." It felt like a lifeline. I tried to follow, but old habits tugged at me. Tight shoulders, a jaw clenched against judgment, the instinct to perform and apologize in the same breath. Leah noticed every time. "You don't need to be perfect," she said, moving the light a hair to the right. "You just need to be present." "How do you do that?" I asked. "Do what?" "Make presence sound easier than perfection." She considered that. I practiced being a person before I practiced being a photographer. A small smile. Only one of those comes naturally. We took a break. She offered me water from a dented steel bottle and passed me a mirror. "You can check hair or makeup," she said, waving a hand. "But I promise you look like yourself." The mirror showed a face I half recognized. Clear-eyed, a little flushed, mouth softer than I remembered it being. "You're very good at this," I said. "Thank you." She leaned against a light stand. "You're very good at letting me be good at this." "That sounds philosophical." "It's practical," she said. "Some people come in ready to fight the camera. You came in asking it to tell you something true. What do you think it's saying so far?" She tilted her head, really looking at me the way she had been all afternoon. "That you're stronger than you feel, and that you're tired of explaining yourself." The answer landed in my chest with a weight that felt like relief. I set the mirror down. "Now you're very good at therapy." Occupational hazard. We switched to a different backdrop, soft slate blue, and she asked me to sit on a tall stool. The light was warmer now. The sun had inched lower, sliding honey through the skylights. Leah raised the camera again. "Tell me about your mother," she said, not as a trap, but as an invitation. "You mentioned her when we booked." "She's stubborn," I said, lining my palms along my thighs to keep them from shaking. "She taught high school English for 30 years and pretends retirement is a vacation no one invited her to. She forgets little things now. Dates, names, the order of steps in a recipe she's made for decades." Leah took a photo, lowered the camera a fraction. "What's something she always remembers?" "The chorus to every Motown song," I said, smiling. "And how to make me feel like I can do hard things." Leah's voice softened again. "Look right at me. Keep thinking that." The shutter fluttered. "There you are." We paused once more so she could tether the camera to a small monitor. She beckoned me over. My portraits glowed on the screen, some tentative, some bolder, all more honest than any photo I'd let exist in years. In one I was mid-laugh. In another, still as I held breath. It was almost unbearable to look at and impossible to stop. "You see it?" Leah asked. "I see someone I might like," I said, surprised to hear my voice turn thick at the edges. "Good," she said. "She's been here the whole time." We shot again, jacket off now, just the white tee, hair shaken loose. She asked me to stand, to shift my weight, to step toward the lens like I was walking into a conversation I'd been avoiding. "Yes," she said softly. "Like that. Stay right there." Her focus was absolute. The world narrowed to the distance between us and the small sound of the shutter. And then the spell flickered. Her phone buzzed on a side table, screen lighting with a name I couldn't help but see. "Maya, call me." The message stacked with another, urgent. Leah didn't move at first. The light hummed. I kept my stance, but inside, the old bracing returned. Who was Maya? Why urgent? Why now? She glanced at the phone, then back to me, apology flickering across her face. "I'm so sorry," she said. "I never do this. It's just, can I grab that?" "Of course," I said, though my pulse stuttered. She picked up the phone, read quickly, then set it face down without calling back. The composure returned, efficient as a tide. "I'm here," she said, as if promising more than a focus reset. "Where were we?" "Walking into the conversation," I said. "Right." She lifted the camera. One more set. "Tell me what you're afraid to say out loud." Every exit ramp in my mind lit up. I could talk about my job fatigue, my mother's slow unspooling, the way I'd been measured and found wanting by someone who once swore they loved me. Instead, honesty slipped its hand into mine. "I'm afraid," I said, steadying my breath, "that I only know how to be wanted when I'm fixing something for someone else." Leah didn't flinch. "You don't have to fix anything for me," she said in a low tone. "Just be here." Click, click. The camera sounded almost like reassurance. We finished as the sun thinned into evening. Leah powered down the lights and rolled the ladder away. I gathered my jacket, not wanting to leave and not knowing how to stay. She walked me to the door, the studio suddenly tender in its quiet. "I'll send proofs tomorrow," she said, hand on the knob. "But if you're open to it, there's a set I want to try outside. Natural light, somewhere that feels like your life." "My life is mostly coffee shops and freeways," I said, smiling. "That's a mood," she said. "Text me when you're free." I stepped into the hallway, cooler air rinsing across my skin. "Leah," I said, turning back. "Thank you for asking for mercy." Her mouth curved. "You made it easy." I was halfway to the street when the studio door opened again. Leah jogged after me, denim sleeves pushed higher on her arms, expression bright with a thought she didn't want to lose. "One more thing," she said, stopping close enough that I could see the tiny sunburst freckles across the bridge of her nose. "When you looked at the monitor and liked what you saw, hold on to that. Don't let anyone negotiate it away, even me," I asked, "especially you." She exhaled, as if stepping past her own line. "And if the outside set turns into coffee, I won't object." Something warm unfurled in my chest. "Neither would I," she nodded, then hesitated. The space between us felt suddenly fragile and charged, like the second before a song begins. She opened her mouth to say something else, and her phone rang, slicing through the quiet. The name flashed again. Maya. Leah's jaw shifted. "I have to take this," she said, apologetic but tense. "I'll text you tonight." She stepped back into the studio, answering in a low tone I couldn't make out. The door swung slowly shut, leaving me on the sidewalk with the taste of almost on my tongue and the sense that I was standing at the start of a story with more edges than I understood. My phone buzzed as I reached my car. An unknown number lit the screen with a single line. "Be careful with her." I looked up at the studio's dark window, heart picking up speed. The text message haunted me the entire night. "Be careful with her." It came from an unknown number, no profile photo, no hint of who had sent it. I stared at it until the letters blurred. Leah's face kept flashing in my mind, those calm, steady eyes behind the lens, the way she said, "You don't have to fix anything for me." But what if she wasn't who I thought she was? I told myself not to be dramatic. People got strange texts all the time. Maybe it was spam, maybe a mistake. Still, the words pressed on me like a hand against my chest. When I finally fell asleep, I dreamed of flashes. Her camera shutter opening and closing. A faceless figure watching from the corner of the studio. And Leah's voice saying, "Don't look away." The next morning, she texted me just like she'd promised. "Leah, good morning. Coffee today? There's a place near Griffith Park that has sunlight I'd die for. Bring your favorite jacket." My stomach twisted, half excitement, half dread. I typed and deleted 3 responses before finally sending, "Sure, what time?" When I got there, Leah was already outside, leaning against her car with a coffee in hand. She looked different in daylight, less composed, somehow softer. "You look like you didn't sleep," she said, squinting at me. I forced a smile. "Maybe your photo shoot drained my soul." "Good," she said. "That means I did it right." We drove up into the hills, the air smelling faintly of sage and heat. Her car was full of camera gear, old Polaroids scattered across the dashboard. One had slipped between the seats, the corner curling. I pulled it out. It showed a woman standing by a lake at sunset. The woman's face was turned away, but her posture looked intimate, trusting. "Beautiful shot," I said. Leah's eyes flicked to the photo, then back to the road. "That was a long time ago." Something in her tone made me set it down carefully. "The woman you photographed?" "Someone I used to know," she said. "Someone I shouldn't have. I didn't push." But the warning from the night before began echoing louder. At the park, Leah carried her camera bag like it was an extension of her body. We walked to a trail overlooking the city, where the air shimmered between smog and sunlight. "Here," she said, gesturing to a patch of dry grass that glowed gold under the sun. "This is the light I meant." I stood there awkwardly, unsure how to pose. "You're the artist. Tell me what to do," she smiled, lifting the camera. "Forget the lens exists. Think of someone you wish would look at you the way you look at them." I froze. "That's oddly specific. Photography's always specific." She tilted her head. "Who comes to mind?" My mouth went dry. "I don't know. Maybe you should tell me." Her laugh was soft, but her eyes didn't look away. "Dangerous answer." The camera clicked once, twice. Then she lowered it and said quietly, "You have no idea how hard it is to stay professional right now." My pulse stumbled. "Then don't." Her expression shifted, half surprise, half relief. She stepped closer, close enough that the scent of her perfume, something clean, like cedar, filled the air between us. For a moment, the world shrank to that small space where sunlight met shadow, and I could almost hear the question forming behind her lips. But before anything could happen, a woman's voice called out behind us. "Leah." Leah turned so fast she nearly dropped her camera. Standing a few yards away was a woman about her age, tall, elegant, her hair pulled into a sleek ponytail. She wore dark sunglasses, but even from here, I could feel her stare cutting through both of us. Maya, Leah said, her voice suddenly stripped of warmth. So that was Maya. I thought you weren't shooting today, Maya said, stepping closer. Her tone wasn't angry, just coldly intimate, the kind that belonged to someone who used to know every part of you. I changed my schedule, Leah replied, keeping her eyes on her camera. Maya, this is... I stepped forward before she could finish. Hi, I'm Harper. Maya's smile didn't reach her eyes. The new project? Leah hesitated. Client, she said. Something flickered across Maya's face. Hurt, maybe. Or something more dangerous. She looked at me again, then said, Be careful with her. My blood froze. The exact same words from the text. Maya turned and walked back toward the parking lot without another word. Leah exhaled, closing her eyes for a moment before saying, I'm so sorry. That was complicated, you think? I said, trying to sound calm even as my heart hammered in my chest. She's the one who texted me, isn't she? Leah frowned. Texted you? What did she say? I hesitated. She told me to be careful with you. Leah shook her head slowly. That's not possible. Maya doesn't have your number. Then how did she know my name? The question hung in the air like static. Leah didn't answer. We packed up early. The car ride back was silent, the kind of silence that fills every inch of space between words. I watched the city blur past the window. Freeways, palms, a billboard for perfume that claimed to smell like truth. At one point, Leah spoke. Maya and I used to live together. We ended badly. She's not over it. Does she usually warn your clients about you? Leah's hands tightened on the steering wheel. No, but she knows where to hurt me. By showing up in broad daylight. Her jaw flexed. By making people I care about doubt me. I didn't know what to say to that. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But the image of Maya's smile, that precise and cutting tone, replayed in my mind. She hadn't seemed unhinged. She'd seemed certain. When Leah dropped me off, she didn't reach out or promise to call. She just said, please don't let her scare you off. This, whatever it is between us, it's real. Is it? I asked. She looked at me for a long moment. You tell me. I wanted to. I wanted to believe the warmth I'd felt in her studio hadn't been an illusion. But that night, when I checked my phone again, another message had arrived. Unknown number. You don't know who she really is. I stared at it for nearly an hour before typing back. Who are you? What do you mean? No reply came. Just the quiet, the hum of my phone, and the feeling that I was slipping into something much deeper than I'd planned, and somewhere out there. A camera shutter clicked again, like a heartbeat I couldn't control. 3 days passed before Leah texted me again. I told myself I wouldn't respond, that I needed space, that I shouldn't get caught up in someone else's storm. But when her name appeared on my screen, my heart betrayed me. Leah, I owe you an explanation, please. Dinner? My place? No cameras this time. I stared at the message for a long time. I could still hear Maya's voice. Be careful with her. Echoing in my head. But curiosity or maybe longing outweighed fear. I typed back a single word. Okay. Leah lived in Echo Park, in one of those narrow houses stacked up a hill overlooking the water. The neighborhood smelled like jasmine and car exhaust. When I reached her door, the sunset was washing everything gold. I could see her through the glass, barefoot, hair pulled back, a record playing somewhere inside. She opened the door before I knocked. You came, she said, relief softening her voice. I wasn't sure I would. I wasn't sure you should. We stood there for a second, neither of us moving. Then she stepped aside, letting me in. The place was warm and cluttered, books stacked on the floor, framed photos on every wall. Most were landscapes, but a few showed faces. Women, always women. Each photo felt personal, intimate in a way that made me slightly uneasy. I made pasta, Leah said, disappearing into the kitchen. The only thing I can cook that doesn't taste like regret. I followed her, trying to steady my heartbeat. So, I said, are you going to tell me who's been texting me? She set 2 plates on the table. It wasn't me. I know that. She met my eyes. And it wasn't Maya, not this time. My stomach twisted. What does that mean? Leah sat down slowly. After Maya and I ended things, she didn't let go easily. She kept showing up at shoots, contacting clients. When I blocked her, she found other ways. Sometimes she'd make new accounts just to send messages, pretending to warn people about me. So she's stalking you? Leah nodded slightly. Or maybe haunting me. Depends how you define it. The candle between us flickered. And what exactly are you being accused of? Leah hesitated. Of manipulating people. Of using my camera to get too close. Is it true? I asked quietly. She looked down at her plate. Sometimes I cross lines. Emotionally. I see people in their most vulnerable moments, and it's easy to mistake connection for something else. But I've never lied to anyone. I don't play games. The honesty in her tone disarmed me. Still, something about her words, cross lines, lingered in the air. We ate in silence for a while. The record crackled softly in the background, a jazz piece, slow and haunting. When she finally spoke again, her voice was low. You should know something else. Maya wasn't just an ex. She was my assistant. We built everything together. When it ended, she lost her job, her home, and she blamed me for everything. That's why she warned me, I said. Leah nodded. She thinks she's protecting people from me. The wind brushed through the open window, carrying the faint scent of the lake below. I wanted to believe her, to push all doubt away. But trust doesn't rebuild itself in one dinner. Why did you want me here tonight? I finally asked, her eyes lifted to mine. Because I didn't want the story to end before it started. She stood up, walked around the table, and stopped right beside me. I know how this looks, she said softly. But when I'm with you, it doesn't feel like every mistake I've made. It feels like a chance to get it right. Her hand brushed my shoulder, then paused, waiting for permission. I didn't move. I couldn't, Leah. Tell me to stop, she said. But I didn't. Her fingers slid up to my jaw, tilting my face toward hers. The kiss was slow at first, tentative, careful, but it deepened quickly, like something inevitable. The world outside disappeared. For a brief, dangerous moment, everything made sense. When she pulled back, her breath trembled. You shouldn't trust me so easily. I don't, I said. That's the problem. She smiled faintly, but her eyes looked sad. Then stay until you decide. We talked late into the night. About photography, fear, the versions of ourselves we hide from everyone else. She showed me an old photo album. Her first projects, printed on fading matte paper. In one of them, I recognized the same woman from the Polaroid in her car, standing by the lake. That's her, I said. Maya. Leah closed the album carefully. Yeah, she looks different there. She was, Leah said quietly. That was before everything broke. What happened between you two? Leah sighed. She wanted more than I could give. I told her we couldn't mix work and love, but by then we already had. She turned away, resting her hand on the window frame. I thought I could end it gently. I was wrong. I didn't know what to say. The truth sounded messy, too human to be a villain's story, too painful to be clean. It was past midnight when I finally stood to leave. Leah walked me to the door, her expression unreadable. Will I see you again? She asked. I don't know. She nodded. That's fair. I stepped outside, the night air cool against my skin. Halfway down the stairs, I turned back. Leah was still standing there, framed in the doorway's light. Something about her looked lonely. The kind of loneliness that doesn't go away with company. Leah, I said softly. You should probably change your locks. She blinked. Why? Because someone's been following me. Her face went pale. What? I pulled my phone from my pocket and showed her the newest message that had arrived while we were eating. Unknown number. You're not the first. Her breath caught. Harper, this isn't just her anymore. What do you mean? Leah stepped closer, lowering her voice. Maya doesn't send warnings like that. If she wanted to scare you, she'd make it personal. This, she pointed to the screen, this is someone else. Someone else who knows about you. Or about us, she said. A shiver ran through me. The night suddenly felt heavier, like the air itself had turned against us. Leah looked toward the dark street. Get inside your car, now. What's going on? I'll explain later, she said, scanning the shadows. But if someone's watching you, they're watching me too. I hesitated. Leah, go! Her voice cracked. Please. I got into my car, locking the doors as she turned back toward her house. Her silhouette disappeared into the light, and for a moment, everything was still. Then, from the corner of my eye, I saw a figure standing across the street, half hidden behind a tree. Holding what looked like a camera, they raised it. The flash went off once, blinding white. By the time my vision cleared, they were gone. The morning after that flash of light, sleep was impossible. Every sound outside my window made me tense. The trash truck, a car door, a neighbor's footsteps. I replayed the scene again and again, the faceless figure, the blinding flash, the empty street afterward. When I finally looked in the mirror, I barely recognized the woman staring back, hollow eyes, clenched jaw, fear pulsing beneath her skin. By noon, Leah still hadn't called. I tried her number twice. Both went straight to voicemail. On the third attempt, a message appeared on my screen. Leah, don't come here. I'll explain soon, trust me. 3 words that now felt impossible, trust me. I paced my apartment, torn between logic and instinct. If someone was following me, hiding wasn't safety, it was surrender. So I grabbed my jacket, keys, and drove toward Echo Park. The streets blurred past like a fever dream, and when I reached Leah's house, her car was gone. But her front door stood slightly open. The air inside smelled like rain and dust. On the table lay her camera, lens cap off, pointing toward the window. The red light was still blinking, recording. My heart pounded. Leah, I called. No answer. Only the quiet hum of her refrigerator and the faint creak of wood under my shoes. Then I saw the photo prints scattered across the floor. Some were from our session, me laughing, me looking away. But others were older. Maya's face appeared in several of them, blurred, then sharp, then almost erased by overexposure. And in the last one, the newest, there was me again, but not from inside the studio. It was taken outside my apartment. From across the street, my breath caught. Someone had been photographing me long before that night at Griffith Park, and Leah had these prints here, in her house. The sound of a door closing behind me made me jump. I turned. Leah stood in the doorway, drenched from the rain, eyes wide. Harper, she said, voice shaking. You shouldn't be here. What is all this? I demanded, holding up one of the prints. Why are there pictures of me like this? From before we met. Leah stepped forward, hands raised slightly. It's not what it looks like. It looks like you've been watching me. She shook her head. No, those were sent to me. By who? She hesitated, then said quietly, Maya. The room seemed to tilt. You said she was just your ex. You said she wanted to scare people away from you. She does, Leah said. But lately she's been doing more than that. I started getting envelopes. No notes, just photos. First of her, then of people I worked with, then of you. Why me? Because I cared, Leah said, almost whispering. She can always tell when I start caring about someone. For a long moment, the only sound was rain against the windows. I looked down at the photo again. The edges were torn, the paper creased, as if it had been handled too many times. You should have told me. I wanted to protect you, she said. But I think it's too late. Before I could respond, a sharp knock came from the front door. Leah froze. Another knock, louder this time. Don't, she mouthed, reaching for my arm. But curiosity, or fear, drove me to the window. Through the rain-blurred glass, I saw a figure standing outside in a long coat, hood up, holding something metallic in one hand. Leah grabbed my wrist. Go to the back. Who is it? She didn't answer. The knock came again, followed by a voice that made my blood run cold. Leah, open the door. I just want to talk. Maya, Leah's grip tightened. Stay here. She moved toward the door, her voice steady but trembling. Maya, leave, please. You can't hide her from me, Maya said from the porch. She should know who you really are. Leah's voice cracked. Don't do this. I stepped out from the hallway despite her warning. Maya, stop, I called. The door swung open, and Maya's face appeared, rain streaking her makeup, eyes burning with something between grief and fury. She held a camera in one hand, not a weapon, though in that moment it felt just as dangerous. She takes pieces of you, Maya said, her gaze fixed on me. That's what she does. She photographs what she wants, then leaves you hollow. Tell me, has she shown you the project? What project? I asked. Leah's expression collapsed. Maya, don't. But Maya stepped forward, pulling a flash drive from her pocket and tossing it onto the floor between us. It's all there. Every photo, every woman, every promise. Leah's shoulders sagged, and I saw something in her face I hadn't seen before. Exhaustion, yes, but also shame. It's not what she thinks, she said quietly. I started documenting stories of women who were rebuilding their lives. Survivors, fighters. but Maya didn't see it that way. She thought I was collecting people. Were you? I asked. Leah met my eyes. I thought I was helping them, until I realized I couldn't separate empathy from attraction. Sometimes they blurred. And that blur hurt people. Her most of all. Maya's voice trembled. She made me believe I was the only one. Leah stepped forward. You were the one I loved. The others were subjects, Maya spat. That's what you called them. The tension broke like glass. I stepped between them, voice firm. Enough. They both looked at me. Two women bound by something too tangled to name. Whatever this is, I said, it ends now. You both deserve to stop bleeding from the same wound. For a moment, no one moved. Then Maya's hand fell to her side, camera lowering. Tears blurred her eyeliner. She'll do it to you too, she whispered. I shook my head. Only if I let her. She turned and walked into the rain without another word. The door closed softly behind her. Leah stood still, eyes wet, breath unsteady. You should go too, she said. You don't deserve to carry this. I hesitated. You're right. But I also think maybe it's time you stopped carrying it alone. Leah looked at me, and for the first time I saw her without the armor, just a woman trying to make art out of her own brokenness. We spent the rest of the night sitting by the window, saying little. When dawn came, she handed me the flash drive. You should decide what happens next, she said. Maybe it's time the story belongs to someone else. I slipped it into my pocket and nodded. Then I'll start by telling the truth. As I walked out into the pale morning, the city still wet from rain, I realized something simple but heavy. Love doesn't always arrive to save you. Sometimes it comes to reveal what still needs healing. Love isn't always clean or safe. Sometimes it's messy, uncertain, and forces us to face the parts of ourselves we hide. But even in that chaos, there's a strange kind of grace, the courage to stay honest, to forgive, and to start again. What would you have done in my place? Would you walk away from someone haunted by their past, or stay and try to understand it? If this story touched you, take a moment to reflect, to share your thoughts in the comments, and to subscribe for more stories about the complicated, beautiful, and deeply human ways we love.